While much has been said about the significant red tape that hampers business growth in South Africa, the general sentiment is that the country's business landscape is plagued by challenges that hinder commercial activity. But is the entry into the SME sector as restrictive as perceived? David Morobe, who's Regional General Manager of Business Partners, joins us in studio now to share his view with us. Thanks so much, David, for joining us this afternoon. I was saying right at the top of the show to Lindsay that, there's perhaps a refreshing view to hear where things have been centered around doom and gloom in South Africa. The fact that South Africa's business environment is performing significantly well in key areas.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Alishia. The Ease of Doing Business Index is a good international benchmark, that just shows how we're doing on all the variables that you look at in terms of the ease of doing business. And I think South Africa has got much better than a lot of people anticipated. Those variables are very key. They are similar in a number of countries, in all the countries actually where they use the Ease of Business Index. And what do they look at? They look at the ease of starting a business, the ease of the legislative environment. They use the ease of accessing capital, and it's quite good to see that there has been an improvement to date, and there's no more positive news than us just looking inwardly, because internationally, using the similar benchmark, we've scored better than others.
Mm-hmm. David, it seems to me that it's broadcasters like myself that have been misinformed, and my ignorance has come across so many times on Power Lunch, and we've got it all wrong. I mean, some of these numbers are quite startling. You say another positive factor is the fact that South Africa improved by 68% in terms of starting a business in 2012 and is currently ranked number 44, and I think your sample survey, or the sample survey, is 183. And the other thing is, the problem is not a lack of access to capital. And again, a lot of people think you go to the bank and the bank immediately shuts the door in your face, but clearly not the case.
No, exactly. I think there's been tremendous improvement. The CIPRO, the Companies International Property Commission, has done a lot of work in terms of making sure that companies can be registered much quicker than was the case before. And in terms of access to capital, usually there's so many interventions that we're giving, both from government and the private sector. The number of institutions that have been launched that increasing access to finance. We're also looking, and we are always inundated with people looking for opportunity for finance, as well as the private sector in the form of banks. So what we need to just manage is the mismatch of information between both the entrepreneurs and us, the finance providers, to make sure that the information that comes through makes sure that the mismatch is mitigated.
There are quite a few mismatches, within the South African economy as well. And, if we turn our attention to the challenges that are posed for SMEs and startup businesses in South Africa, it's the labor environment. I mean, that's where on that global competitiveness report we actually ranked worst. When it comes to inflexible wage setting structures, tense employee-employer relations, we aren't faring too well. So to what extent is this posing significant challenge to the stride that's being made on the positive side?
Yeah, that's true. If you look post the 1994, when we had a new regime, I think there have been great strides that were made in terms of improving our legislative environment insofar as labor is concerned. And organized labor made a lot of positive strides, but unfortunately it had a lot of unintended consequences as well in terms of the demands that are placed on employers vis-a-vis salaries that the people want and other related issues that they want. For the SME, you can realize with the big strikes that have taken place in the mining sector that there's been a lot of tension, and it has been very difficult for employers. Those difficulties are much more pronounced for the small and medium enterprise, because it's that little small and medium enterprise person waking up daily to face the challenges, as well as little family-owned businesses. How do they react to such things? And clearly that we performed not so well in terms of the study shows that we need to do much more to address that mismatch, because you cannot continue this way, particularly in encouraging private enterprise, people to start up business and create much needed jobs, because it is only through encouraging entrepreneurs to make sure that they can hire easily and they are able to manage the relations of labor without too much burden of the broader organized labor requirements.
David, you say, or your colleague Kerry van Biljon says in his report that's in front of me now, it says, although the South African business environment is thriving in certain aspects, other sections need to be reviewed in order to streamline SME growth in the country. I'll give you a very interesting example. I mean, in a way, I'm a small business owner myself. I'm a freelancer for CNBC Africa, and also I have my own radio show. And I'm finding myself increasingly needing a producer. And I'm actually discouraged from employing anybody, because they probably won't get on with me, but more importantly because it is so onerous to employ someone. So it seems to me that there might be a lot of small businesses around that are doing quite good business, but could do better if they employed people. So that's just one of the barriers, I would have thought.
It is one big barrier. I can only agree with you. It's something that we need to address, particularly for small business persons such as yourself. It must be easy for entrepreneurs, because if you think about it, we need more entrepreneurs in order to create more jobs. If we created 1 million entrepreneurs out there who have the ease of hiring others, we can easily reach that target of 5 million that has been set for creating jobs in this country. Unfortunately, when the entrepreneurs such as yourself are discouraged, it's a pity for the country, because we need those jobs.
Absolutely. Do you see it working to impede our competitive edge and our status in South Africa as a gateway to Africa?
I think it's not insurmountable. We can address it in as much as we've improved in a number of areas, such as access to capital and access to registering your company with ease. It's something that needs all parties to get together to say, look, we have our country at stake here. We need to create a future that we would like our children to live in the next 20 years or so. What are we doing about it? So I don't think it's about all doom and gloom. It's an area that has clearly been showcased to us. We need to do something about it. I'm glad currently there are further investigation by the key stakeholders in this party, and hopefully we can come up with a regime that is much better, because all people in this space have had an egg in their face insofar as the labor mismatches that we've had thus far.